Hello everybody and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out the early access preview version of a game called I Am Bread by developer Bossa Studios. You probably know best for Surgeon Simulator 2013, the physics-powered phenomenon of years past now. So this is their new game, and this is a really fun and very hard to classify physics-powered platformer, I guess is probably the best way to think about it. And if you want to sort of sum it up in a very brief way, I'd say something sort of like a Surgeon Simulator plus Octodad with maybe a little bit of Mount Your Friends playing as a slice of bread, I guess would kind of be the best way that I could come to it. But anyway, we're going to take a quick run through probably the first level here of I Am Bread, and we'll get acclimated. I'll go over some of my impressions here, and we'll talk about things that maybe this could be and will come to be later on in development. So first off, let's look at our settings menu. As usual, we've got our music and sound with individual sliders, always a lovely thing to see. We've also got an option to switch between gamepad and keyboard and mouse. I recommend if you pick this up right now, probably go for gamepad. I think it's a little bit more intuitive. It also came defaulted with the invert camera y-axis checked by default, so I turned that off because I'm fine with it the way it is normally without anything like that. Doesn't have any windowed mode options for graphical resolution settings or anything like that. Hopefully this should run fairly well on most people's computers. This is a Unity game, so as far as optimization goes, well, that doesn't necessarily preclude that it will be well optimized, but I generally don't have too many bad experiences with Unity games, and so far so good with this one in particular as well. I have actually only spent about maybe 10 or 15 minutes with this one. I must say though, right off the bat, it's a little bit on the tough side, but hopefully once you get the controls down, things should sort of be revealed a little bit from there, and maybe you'll get more acclimated and things will become easier and easier as you go. So let's jump into the beginning. We're presented with normally, immediately we go right to the kitchen. You can see I have a terrible grade there. My time of 3 minutes and 2 seconds. Edibility of, what does that even say there? 2413? I'm not really sure what that means. And then we've got deliciousness, which is also a factor too, but we'll go over that stuff in a second. And we have not cleared the lounge yet. So let's try the first level again, see if we can do a little bit better. Alright, so this is our sort of one insight into the game's story, and I will admit to you right now, I'm not entirely clear on how this is all coming together, but we've got what seems to be some sort of note from the therapy barn, you'll never want to leave, with our client name is Mr. Merton, and that's his information there. So treatment notes and a diagnosis down at the bottom part here. We've got Mr. Merton spent most of the session talking about his past, mainly focusing on his failed business Merton's Merchants and the subsequent divorce from his wife Barbara. He moved on to threatening the council again, as well as local carpet world. Not really sure who the council are in this case, but Carpet World's gotta go, apparently. Session ended with him angrily stating that he was going shopping with the intention to eat himself to death. He appears to be dealing with multiple stress points and focusing all his anger towards the council, to which he still claims they are responsible for the downfall of his business. I believe him now being employed by the council as a street cleaner is exacerbating the issue. I've suggested he accepts that at this time things are not going his way, but a positive outlook is imperative. We have another session booked for tomorrow. The shopping trip should take his mind off events while I review some potential solutions. So hopefully he's not going to actually eat himself to death, but I guess we'll see what happens there, if that's even a factor. Alright, day one, kitchen. We shall become toast. So here is our main character, our protagonist, as it were, a slice of bread. It's an interesting thing to find ourselves playing as, isn't it? Alright, so we're going to use the control stick to nudge our character in various directions, and as you can see, we've got prompts. Right trigger, right bumper, and all of those are anchor points, essentially. So what we can do is, when we're in contact with the surface, we can swing ourselves around via those anchor points by using the control stick. We can also grab multiple at a time if we want to sort of flap ourselves against something. In fact, this jar over here of marmalade of some kind, or jelly, could actually be broken open, and we can use our bread to smear ourselves into things and see if we can maybe get a little bit of this jelly onto ourselves, and that is actually a thing that happens. As part of the fun of this game is traversing the environment and also seeing what things you might accidentally pick up along the way. Now you're probably wondering, what is the gamified element of this? What is the challenge here? Well, our goal is to make it to the toaster while still being as edible as possible. You can see we have an edibility meter in the top left, as well as a grip meter and a time meter. Now, the edibility will go down as we find ourselves putting ourselves in positions that will, well, as you would expect with actual bread, make you want to eat that bread less. For example, falling onto the floor is kind of always a problem for a slice of bread, and, you know, it's got a bit of a floor is lava approach, and we've shattered that butter thing open completely. And it's actually one of the things I love about this, the attention to detail in how many different ways we can modify the environment and see different ways we can traverse things as well. So let's turn around, as we've actually got a bit of kitchen ahead of us. You can see the toasters all the way across the way. So we're going to have to find our best way over to that without falling on the floor too much, or, you know, at all, if possible. Now, we've also got these anchor points that you'll see light up, and we'll just try and, like, scoot ourselves over there without landing on the floor for too long. We've got the ability to actually set like a permanent marker if we want by using the ABXY, and as you can see, those will pop up on occasion. We can use that to just sort of cement ourselves against something if we want to really hold a permanent grip against that. And there we go. There's actually a lot of potential for some very interesting traversal mechanics in this, and as I've been playing a lot of games like Mount Your Friends, specifically, I've gotten a little bit better at the idea of becoming acclimated with using these 4 counter or, you know, anchor points as a bit of just a standard to get by on, and sort of using physics to throw yourself around in a weird way that makes this just kind of unpredictable and hilarious and fun at the same time. And the first time I went through this, I basically just got stuck on the floor for quite a while. Second time, I actually found myself much more able to cope with things, and the third time I actually was starting to try and stylishly move about a little bit. And you'll notice, of course, this is dynamically popping open here. There, you know, pretty much everything in the entire kitchen is physics enabled to some extent, and I can actually nudge myself to close that back over again. If I really wanted to be crafty about things, you'll notice our bread is totally coated in junk now. We could actually try and, like, climb our way up to the ceiling or do anything, well, really, that we want. There's no limits here aside from our imagination and our grip. And that is a bit of a factor also. As you can see, the grip only will hold on so long, so you've got to be able to sort of imagine yourself as if you were playing Shadow of the Colossus or something like that, and make sure you don't find yourself in a position that when you fall, you're going to end up basically dead or inedible in this case. So falling in the sink, probably a big problem for a slice of bread, I would think. Let's see if we can just kind of like skirt around that. Gotta make sure we have the right anchor points, and when you're talking, it's, oh god, alright, recovered. We're going over the oven now. Oh no, we're not actually. Let's not fall in the pet food dish. Actually, right next to the toaster is a castle litter box, so like if you want to one-shot your character, I imagine falling in the litter box would do that. By the way, of course, you can move the camera around with the right analog stick on the 360 controller if you choose. We're gonna hit the floor. Yeah, there we go. Let's get our grip back. We will need to, of course, orient our camera in the best way possible for whatever situation we find ourselves in. Oh, man! I don't know. I should probably just beeline for the toaster at this point, because this is not looking good. Pardon these awful plays here. Turn left and right trigger at the same time. If you're really skilled, you can actually sort of, like, rock by just using the edges of the bread. And, yeah, this bread is not looking particularly edible this time. You can actually sort of cartwheel yourself across most of the stage, which is surprisingly satisfying when you can pull that off. Turn over. There we go. You do have to kind of get accustomed to the idea that when you're moving up a vertical surface, you've got to kind of gain momentum before it'll allow you to throw yourself upward. But again, once that makes a lot of sense to you, once you feel like that becomes a little bit more intuitive, the whole game kind of opens up a little bit. Because like I said, you could literally do anything that you want here in this kitchen. As long as you have enough grip meter, even climb along the ceiling. And I did try to do that in the second level. So how am I going to turn myself? Let's see if we can get an anchor here on the right trigger and kind of do one of these. There we go. And let's rotate our camera so we have a good angle on it. And now we basically need to just grab right trigger, right bumper, and flip up. Oh no, I've blown it. Alright, might need to reorient here. Getting into the toaster is surprisingly difficult at times, I've noticed. Then, of course, there's the whole managing your toastiness element, too. Like, if you were ever looking for the definition of a Nick game, this is pretty much it. I have a feeling I'm probably going to be playing a lot of this game. I find it very hilarious and quite a bit of fun as well. And that's kind of where you want to be with a physics game in general, right? Oh, geez, I only toasted like half of the bread on one side. But, you know, just having a ability to laugh at yourself while also providing a fun gameplay experience, like, that's all I could really want, right? And there's enough to this that every time you play through each level, it's going to be just a little bit different, hopefully, so... provided you want to try and mess around with all the different variables, I think you could actually find yourself in a number of different ways through. No. Oh, man. I don't know how this could even be simplified, because, like, I like that they stick with the sort of challenge of keeping the physics pretty pure. There's not a lot of, like, hand-holding gimmicks or anything like that. It's not like they go, oh, you're near the toaster, now the thing's just done. No, you gotta actually get your bread into the toast. It doesn't do that for you. Or get your bread into the toaster, rather. Oh, I guess you could fall in vertically, too. I didn't think that would count. And it pops us up a little bit early. I'm not quite all the way to being as toasty as I'd like. I dread to see what my grade is going to be for this. It's not looking particularly good for me right now. Right trigger, right bumper, flip. Oh, no, I went over again! I mean, if I had any complaints, it's just that maybe the first level is already, like, a little harder than it probably should be for the very first time you're experiencing these controls. And I'm not saying that there should be, like, a mandatory tutorial or anything, but, like, if there was another thing prior to this to get you a little bit more acclimated and just sort of show you around the pros and cons of what you're going to be doing and how you can possibly mitigate damage or mitigate, you know, and killing your edibility, I think that would probably be a positive thing, and I imagine that's probably likely to come in the future. Oh, press left and right bumper. There we go. Plain boring. I did terribly there. Also, since it's early access, we can't actually control the menus yet with the controller, so I'm sure that'll be a thing that'll get sorted out as well. So let's just go very quickly to the next day, and I will show you the other level. I'm not going to read through this stuff just for the sake of spoiling it. But if you really want to, I suppose you can stop it there, pause the video and such. So, let's see. What are we trying to do here? Do we even have a toaster in this room is the question. I'm not actually sure. I didn't catch what the goal here was, but I assume we're going to be walking around trying to get ourselves up on these shelves. Oh, there's some nice physics interactions I see there. We've got a bowling ball. Maybe we can knock that on the TV. I see we've got some stuff in the window there might be worth going through. And I imagine the super dirty carpet is not a place that I want to find my bread. So I should probably try and launch myself over this gap if possible. Or maybe actually over there, there's a little filing box I could probably try and get myself oriented over to. Oh, watch out. Don't spill the beer. I'm not actually sure if getting certain liquids on you is always as detrimental as it is with falling in the sink. But, you know, wet bread, several of us in my friend circle have experienced a great sense of dismay toward that concept. No. Alright, left trigger, everybody else leaves. It's difficult to get your head around just, like, using only corners sometimes to pivot. I find it's a lot faster when you're starting out to try and get acclimated by just doing the whole left trigger, right bumper thing. Your hands just want to kind of do that more naturally anyway. But you gotta do what works, and if you find that you're in a jam, obviously you're gonna have to figure out every orientation of those button options. And I wonder if there's even, like, other ways that this could be controlled that might be more interesting or experimental. I'm imagining also, like, what if this was an Oculus game, and there was some sort of a way that it had, like, a glove for your, you know, your couple of fingers, your thumb and forefinger or something, and you could just sort of, like, flip the bread in virtual space. How weird would that be? But how weird is this premise already? And yet still quite enjoyable. I've mired myself in this awful predicament of endless filing boxes here. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get out of this very easily, but my edibility, man, it's already down to 70%. That's not so good. Clearly a bit of a challenging game, and clearly something that I'm going to have to spend some time and get more acclimated with. Like I said, I didn't spend a ton of time with this prior to recording, which I figured was for the best in this case, especially since I wanted to give closer to my first impressions than I have been lately on a lot of these videos. This is one that I've been anticipating for quite a while, and just based on the premise alone, it's like, you know, how can you not at least smile playing something this silly, right? I don't think I've ever played a game as a slice of bread before, that I can remember anyway. I've played a number of games with very strange premises, but never quite something like this. My grip! And my bread's dead. Oh no. I mean, I could still probably try and rescue myself, but do I want to at this point? This is probably a reset. I could also see there being some really good potential for, like, challenge missions or something like this, too. Like, given certain circumstances, maybe even give, like, a Little Big Planet-style level editor to a much smaller degree, obviously, but give us the ability to drop in boxes and upload and have a level portal or something. I could see people making some very interesting physics challenges out of all of this. And it's funny, because you have just enough influence over your environment to be able to knock over some things, but not enough influence that you can, like, restructure anything about the room. You can't slide boxes around. You can't really solve puzzles in that respect. It's a different realm than you're probably used to playing as. I could also imagine there could be, like, unlockable skins, and maybe you could play as, like, a ramen noodle package or something like that. You know, any rectangular object that you could really think of that you might run into amongst the random objects in most people's houses. I kind of get a little bit of a Katamari Damacy vibe from this in a way. Maybe it's just from being a slice of bread in a foreboding house environment, but you know, there's also just the charming way that this is approached. And I do like the visual style, I like the music. It's all pretty well done. I mean, the only thing I really think is, as of now, just get some tutorial-like stuff in for people starting out, and I think this'll go far. So I think I'm going to wrap up the video for I Am Bread. Definitely positive impressions so far. If you want to try this out, it's actually available right now on Steam Early Access. There will be a link, of course, to that in the description. I'd love to hear your opinions and feedback here as well. If you want to leave a comment for me, I do read all of them, and I'd be curious to know what you think about something this strange. I know, really, this is probably the channel that you wouldn't expect anything less, so hopefully I'm not disappointing anybody here with having covered this one. This is right up my alley. I love that we're anti-gravity bread, and look at all the junk stuck to it already, too. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's episode, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider leaving a like on it for me. That helps me out a whole bunch. And I will see you back for another episode of Indie Impressions. They go up every single day. So I look forward to bringing you another one then, and I hope you have a fantastic night. Talk to you all tomorrow.